Folks, this TV is breaking all kinds of rules. Shoot, it was breaking rules the first week of January. Stick around because for sure, we have never done an unboxing quite like this one. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison, and this, as you can see, is the TCL QM6K. Now, what did I mean by breaking rules, and how is this such an unprecedented unboxing video? Well, let's start with the fact that never in all my years of doing this have I ever seen a TV shipping to customers mere weeks after it was introduced. We first saw the TCL QM6K at CES. And today, if you wanted to have this TV in your home, you could probably go get it right now and have it the same day you watched this video. We've never seen that happen before. In addition to that, I can't remember a time I've seen so much tech trickle down to a TV at this price class. I mean, the 65-inch model, I think, is going for about $1,000 right now, which you know means it's gonna probably drop to $800 down the road. The 85-inch version of this TV goes for about $2,000. And of course, the price on that will drop at some point as well. And in terms of tech and features, we're talking about a mini LED TV. TCL calls it QD mini LED, which has to do with their approach to mini LED backlighting. It's got an interesting mini LED stack and a special lens that's meant to make the backlighting more precise. It also comes with a 144 hertz native panel at this level, which I don't think I've seen that before. It also uses TCL's own HVA panel, which is meant to offer the superior black levels of a VA panel, but with better off-angle viewing than you normally get from a VA panel. So I'm very interested to check that out. So this being a unique situation, I figured we would do something a little different with this unboxing video, do something we haven't done before, and that is measure this TV in this unboxing video, along with the usual first impressions I like to give. I'm just gonna use my expertise from having looked at tons and tons of TVs to give you a first impression, because like I said, if you wanted to have this TV in your home today, tomorrow, you could. And it's gonna be a while until we see all the new models from all the other brands rolling out later this year. So if you're in a hurry for a TV, I don't know that you could do much better for the price. You know, I noticed this TV box is remarkably thin. I mean, it's got a little bit of heft to it. It's not like it's a paperweight TV, but I mean, if you compare this thing to like the Bravia 9 over there, it's a much more compact package. Get the lid off, do not fall. See, not good balance. Don't love that, but that's really just my problem. You know what's interesting, Zeke, is that it doesn't have like the usual full length foam on the sides. Well, this box is not gonna do a whole lot for us, but we have this protective piece of cardboard on the front, so I'm good with it. That one side piece. All right, big back reveal. That unsavory, should I not say that? Let's be honest, that's never stopped me before. Well, that looks precarious, but we are totally fine. Huh, all right, slightly different mounting holes down here at the bottom. They're a little less recessed than I'm used to, but we do have two spots, so we can go with a wider stance or a narrower stance in case you have a smaller stand. Is blue supposed to be left or right? Good old trial and error. Who wants to read instructions? There is a little plastic nubbin here that is supposed to kind of like help you seat this correctly, and but the thing is it rotates, so that's really not helpful at all. It is a more cost-conscious TV, so I suppose I shouldn't be surprised that these feet are just straight up plastic. I really do prefer metal feet, if for no other reason because it feels better. There we go. I think. No? Yes? Dude, it should not be this hard, for real. Of all the things to like sheep out on, your first touch point with the TV shouldn't be it. All right, it's in now. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention at the intro, another standout feature for TV of this price class is to have subwoofers as part of the audio system. This is an Onkyo branded audio system. It's a 2.1, so we've got 2 firing out of the bottom and then these 2 subwoofers up at the top of the TV. So yeah, you know, hopefully it sounds decent. All right, let's tip her up and get rid of the packaging. Maybe it's just me, but this box feels like a bit more flimsy than I'm used to. Pretty stout power cable. I do like that for all that mini LED power. All right, lift with your legs, not with your back. In case you were wondering, the TV's not that light. I'm just super ripped. Hey, check out who got a slick remote. A little bit more streamlined. It's plastic, but it looks kind of fancy. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and do the peel and reveal before we get it plugged in. Oh, good. That was good. All right, here we go. Oh, that's a first. Almost ripped the TV down. Just taking off the film. I mean, it's bottom heavy. There's not a whole lot. Stability. All right, I think we got it all. All right, standby light is on. Let's go ahead and press the power button. Oh, we don't have the red TCL background. We do on the 115-inch over there, though. Whoops. Womp womp. Yeah, that's a new little intro. Is it just me, or do these, the icons and just the OSD seem kind of dim? Is that just because we've been with so many bright TVs for so long?
So they cut off the Q65 to 68.
There's no 651 versus 681 anymore. It's just, this is the TV, the 6 series. See, this looks like a more normal brightness for the OSD, so maybe it's just the, well, the thing is, a lot of what we were looking at earlier is the stuff that is baked into the SoC. So it's before it goes through any processing or anything like that. It might be at just kind of a low baseline. That might actually be worth bringing up for folks. Yeah. Well, you know how like a PC has like the BIOS, right? And the BIOS is before anything else. Like it's super baked in, basic. I like that they have finally updated some of their setup graphics. It's just refreshing after reviewing their TVs for so long. All right, we're finally set up. It took a little longer than it should have because I was slacking at looking at the Google Home app. But now that we are set up, we're gonna go ahead and adjust the picture mode. I'm gonna go ahead and just go with default filmmaker mode. And wow, the brightness is up at 96 already. That's interesting. Peak luminance is turned off though, which would explain why that is looking dimmer than I was expecting. A micro contrast setting. That's interesting. We'll play around with that later. Anyway, just for grins, I'm gonna go ahead and set the peak luminance at high and local contrast, the local dimming setting up at high in the filmmaker mode, just to see what we can do to max out the SDR. And then we'll make similar adjustments for HDR. And for now, I think I'm gonna get this TV kind of warmed up and running, give Zeke an opportunity to shoot some B-roll, and then we'll get to the measuring part. I'm confused because we're supposed to be in HDR, right? And yet this, we're looking at, okay, the gamma changed. Oddly enough, the brightness was not maxed out. Dynamic tone mapping, detail priority, good. Focal contrast high, and peak luminance is set to highlight versus high dynamic. Prioritizing highlight detail versus higher APL perhaps. All right, well, we'll leave it at the default for filmmaker mode and see how that ends up working out. Nice start though. Okay, time to do some measurements. And just to be clear here, these are going to be very, very basic measurements. We'll explore the full performance of the TV in the actual review. But for now, what I want to do is find out what peak luminance performance and color is like in the filmmaker mode with most of the brightness settings maxed out. On this TV, there are several of them. So I'm giving it its best shot at peak luminance in SDR and then later in HDR. For color, no adjustment to the default color settings in filmmaker mode. And also I haven't done anything with the 2-point white balance. So out of the box, filmmaker mode preset with brightness stuff maxed out. That's what we're working with here. So if we run the SDR dynamic range test, looks like we're gonna come up at about, well, before we had 640, and now I'm getting 570, which is interesting. So we'll wanna continue to run that. 2-point white balance in filmmaker mode is excellent, under a delta E of 2 on the 100% brightness for a 10% window. That's really, really impressive. And the low luminance gray, the 30% stimulus, is barely registerable. I mean, it's like close to 0. So that right there, that is very, very impressive for SDR 2-point white balance. 20-point grayscale, pretty good. You know, it's definitely less accurate in the middle, but very respectable without any adjustments. Now let's check out color and see what comes up. Color gamut looks great. Everything's under 3, it appears. And bear in mind that I juiced up the brightness, so I could be a little bit forgiving of some errors there, but I don't have to. Okay, color checker. This is the torture test. Mixed results. So the first half of the test, everything was below a 2, which is just outrageously good. For a TV at this price, unheard of. But then the back half of the test, we saw errors teasing around 4, which again is great for a TV of this price. What is odd to me is that a lot of the skin tone stuff is it's a little higher. So definitely more research to be done here. Overall though, I mean, the max delta E was 5 and the average is 2. So that's really, really good. And some of this stuff could get corrected once I do even just a basic 2-point white calibration. Yeah, so peak SDR luminance hanging out in the like 5 to 550 range seems a little low to me maybe, but let's go to HDR and see what we find. Okay, so for HDR grayscale tracking, it's tracking a little low on the EOTF curve, but we're gonna not worry too much about that right now, because again, we haven't made any adjustments. Speaking of adjustments, I need to move my meter. Well, it looks like the TV for me right now in filmmaker mode, with giving its best chance, is maxing out at around 760 nits. And when we do a stability test like this, it's sitting right around 600 nits. And I'm gonna reserve my commentary about that for the review, but that's what we're seeing right now. All right, so I did mess around with this peak luminance setting and I put it on high dynamic, which strangely enough knocked the brightness setting down to 92 from 100. I'm not sure why that happened. Ran the test. I'll do it again while we're talking here. And interestingly enough, there's a gigantic leap right at the 25% window size that is very out of character. And it tips up into the 800 nit range. Strange behavior. Almost looks like a manipulation. So again, we're gonna have to dig in a little bit deeper. But yeah, at a 10% window in this stability test, it's hanging out around 600 nits. So whenever I see measurements like this, my first thought is, what is the peak highlight potential for like real world content gonna end up being like? Well, guys, sometimes things don't go as planned. And honestly, I feel like I need more calibration than this TV does. I'm not sure. Something's not adding up for me here, because I remember that the TCL QM751G, the QM7 from 2024, I believe when it came out, the 65-inch was $1,100, right? So $100 more than this thing. But that thing peaked at like 1,500 nits. This is struggling to get close to like 900 under the best conditions. And I'm just not sure that that makes sense. So I'm gonna have to reach out to TCL, find out what the expectations for this TV are, make sure that this TV is matching those expectations. But so far, what I have to say about the TV is that the color accuracy is just remarkable on this television. I've only looked at 60 hertz content so far, but that's been really smooth. And besides that, I'd say that the only thing that came as a surprise to me was that the peak brightness capability of this TV is a little bit lower than I was expecting. Off-angle performance, not a dramatic improvement, if one at all. I did not review the Q6 from last year, so I don't have anything to compare it to. You do see a bit of a roll-off in contrast when you step off angle, although I will say that the color saturation seems to hold up a little bit better. Measurably though, it remains to be seen just how much better the HVA panel looks than some of the standard VA panels that we've seen on mini LED TVs in the past. Also important for the review is going to be a deep dive into the backlight performance, whether it manages blooming well, whether it shows very quick transitions among its various zones. I saw a lot of you out there really wanted me to address exactly how many zones this particular model had, so I will try to count them, even though that is my least favorite thing to do ever. Or maybe TCL, they'll actually just tell me. We'll find out. For now, I will remain cautiously optimistic, but I do remember when I first saw this TV at CES, I felt like it wasn't quite as bright as I was expecting it to be, even though it was down at the QM6 level. And I'm feeling that same way again now. It's not a dim TV by any stretch, but I'm not seeing the pop in the HDR highlights that I was really expecting to see. So, do I have a defective unit? Does it need some kind of update it hasn't gotten yet? Or is it performing exactly as was expected? I hate to do a cliffhanger here, but there's a lot left to be figured out in the full review. So stick with me, I'll get to work on this TV and we'll have a full review on this thing for you very, very soon. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Hope you found this unboxing and first impressions valuable. If so, let me know in the comments. If not, let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, punch that notification bell. I'll see you on the next one, and until then, here's 2 other videos I think you might like.